All good true crime stories start with the 911 call and usually some type of police response. Tonight on the Comm Center, we're diving headfirst into the chilling conclusions of the Sarah Boone saga. The infamous convicted suitcase murderer gave a bizarre and frankly jaw-dropping mea culpa on the stand during her sentencing. If you've been following the case with us, you're about to see the most Sarah Boone thing you'll ever see. We'll try to separate fact from fiction. We stand on the truth from experience. Normally, we try to provide you with true crime from the inside as only we can deliver. All that and what it means for your weekend on the Comm Center.
Wake up, America. It's the Comm Center with Drew Breezy. Joining us is always live for the first time ever. He's not AI, Drew Breezy. He's an authentic police officer, not just a product of ChatGPT. He'll be guiding us as host tonight. I'm John. I'm an actual 911 dispatcher. Sentencing is on or whatever. And shucks, I missed it. So I had to go back and watch. And, I didn't want to spoil it. So I just found the link from Court TV or whatever that had it. And I watched them all kind of just stand around for a while. And I'm kind of clicking ahead or whatever. And so then you get the victim impact statements first. And then Sarah Boone is allowed to take the stand. And something that's very unique amongst certain types of people, narcissists, a lot of those, people that would be so audacious that they would get in front of a camera, and talk because they want people to hear what they have to say. But Sarah Boone demands to be heard to the extent that she would leave a man locked in a suitcase and tell him everything that she's ever wanted to say to him because he's a captive audience. Well, she forfeited a plea deal in which she could be let out of prison for murdering him in something like 8 years. She offered a pretty good deal just to make it over with. The problem with that for Sarah is that she would have had to get up there and said, I was wrong to kill George Torres. That's not within her. She cannot do that. So she realized the trial didn't go her way. It was everyone else's fault but hers. And this is her last at bat. This is her last chance in her mind to save the game. She thinks she's going to go up there and give a performance like her letter to try to find an attorney. I don't know if you remember that, but it was written in all the different fonts and had all the cutesy flowers and stuff.
Yes.
This is her last chance where she's going to go out there and somehow the judge is going to be like, you know what? You're guilty of murder. I'm setting you free. Like she just thought that was going to happen. So I watched it through a couple of times. I broke it all down with some thoughts, this so that Drew can kind of knows what I'm thinking as we're going. But Drew, I encourage you to stop it anytime you want to just say what you think about what she's saying, because she says some pretty interesting things up there. And I didn't format it correctly, so all the text is at the bottom of the screen. Do you mind if we hang out on the side?
No, not at all.
Okay, because I know that you hate that. So
I had a lot to say.
Say again.
Yeah, that's all right. Go ahead.
You just want the screen to be full. Is it full enough for you?
It's never full enough for me, dude. Just press play.
I think this is the wrong one. Let me load up the other one real quick if you want a flapjack. It'll just take
okay. Tonight's broadcast is brought to you by Delicious Cigarettes. That's right. Just rip this pack open, light up a smoke, and blow smoke in any woman's face. She'll follow you anywhere. That's right, cigarettes.
This is how you could tell that we're live. No, you know what happened is when I ran it through the encoder, it for some reason it clipped off all of my text. I have no idea why it would do that. Can you think of a reason why it would do that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe it just saved as the wrong form, not format, but like the wrong, like 16:9 versus.
All right,
4x4.
I'm gonna try something here. I'm gonna load up a real damn big file, and hopefully I don't crash StreamYard. So this is the one that hasn't been compressed. We'll give it a shot.
I had a lot to say. I've had a lot of time to think about things, and I didn't really know how to put it on paper.
Just a reminder, she wrote a letter to her defense psychologist that was 74 pages. That was her life story. So Sarah, the old saying is brevity is the soul of wit.
I didn't know how much I could say or how little I should say. So what I have here is, like I said, an edited version. But I would like to read the more important parts that I feel that everyone should know that wasn't said in my actual trial. And on top of what I have on paper, I have, this is just the tip of the tip of the tip of the iceberg. So I wanted to read this, and then if I may, I would like to address everyone in my apology on top of my statement.
You may proceed, ma'am.
So she got a written thing, and she's going to make a free-form oral statement. The judge is just like, get on with it. Because you got to remember, this judge has been putting up with this for 4 years, got sick of her lawyer shit. He knows this is the last day he has to work on this case. And he
Outstanding
wants to go.
judge, by the way. Judge Cranick.
Yeah, Judge Michael Cranick, great judge.
Kintu Sukuroi is a kind of Japanese ceramic style which means to repair with gold. In this tradition, when a ceramic piece breaks, an artisan will fuse the pieces back together again using liquid gold or gold dust lacquer. So rather than being covered up, the breaks become more obvious and a brilliant new piece of art emerges from the brokenness. It embraces flaws, weakness, and imperfections, and also teaches the essence of resilience. Every crack in a ceramic piece is a part of its history, and each piece becomes more beautiful because it has been broken. This is the wisdom of Kintu Sukuroi. In my wisdom, and with all of my repairs, then, now, and ongoing, God is, has been, and will always be my artisan. All of my gold is forgiveness. This has held me together, made me shine brighter, and overcome the damage caused by George Torres, the Torres family, the justice system, Orange County Corrections Department, social media, scoundrel detectives, infamy, defamation, ongoing constitutional rights violations, second-degree murder, forced into being pro se. Just as gold is very precious, forgiveness is invaluable.
Did she just blame infamy?
Forgiveness is not.
I would say she blamed infamy, but she did blame the judge who's about to sentence her for the rest of her life, either free or in prison. Basically blamed him twice for what's going on.
Right. She kind of blamed the family sitting probably, she could definitely bounce a golf ball and hit the mother in the head with it.
Oh, they're there. They just got done making victims impact statements.
Yeah, the daughter's was kind of tearful, and the sister's was bad. Bad in a good way, if that makes sense. It doesn't make sense.
It was moving, is what it was.
It was moving, and also the judge, yes, that is right there. And by the way, we'll represent social media if that's what you want.
I know. I wanted to ask the Comm Center's official position on capitalizing on this. What is our official position on this? I say not sorry.
Yeah, we're gonna ride it like an elephant.
An attempt to change or forget who, what, or how you've lived through to be so gold, but an act of grace, humility, and considerable self-compassion to be set free from sorrow. Withholding forgiveness denies your brilliance and adds even greater grief and deeper heartache, irreparable cracks on top of the already that no one deserves, no matter the pain or disappointment, untruths or injustice. It doesn't matter. As the more broken you are, even though now different than before, you've become more outstanding and more extraordinary. Above all, when you let go of blame, misunderstandings, excuses, give up your anger and cease from resentment, this is forgiven. And when you forgive, you heal. And when you heal, you move forward. My goal begins with George Torres, and every time he slapped.
Did you see that look?
Oh, that was insane.
Let's keep going.
Slapped me, kicked, punched, spit on, stabbed, choked, laughed at, pushed, pulled, dragged, whipped, tripped, stole from, lied, terrorized, threatened, humiliated, forced, degraded, made me cry. Every time he tried to end me, defeat, or destroy. I forgive George for beating me senseless, for trying to sleep because I had to go to work or my son's field trip the next day, for ruining my deceased family's heirlooms, traditions, and keepsakes, my son's furniture, destroying the television we watched together, for wrecking our townhome by breaking windows, punching holes in the walls and doors, ramming his entire body into glass doors, kicking in my front and back door over and over and over, for breaking or removing the locks from all of the doors and sometimes the knobs altogether, so I had nowhere to feel safe, including the sacred space of my son's room where he beat me bloody on his bed, for terrorizing and threatening my blind and deaf dogs by leaving the gate open I built to keep them safe, telling me he hoped I'd find their bloated dead body in the pond or scrape their remains off of the pavement, for kicking them off of the bed and throwing across the room because they were trying to protect me, for threatening to make me unrecognizable to my son by breaking all of the bones in my face, like his brother Moses did to him after he kept seeing all of the bruises from George beating me, like all of the times their father beat their mother, for all of the drunken rages and fist fights with so many neighbors when wandering into their apartments during hunting expeditions after I had escaped, for drowning me in liquor and wine because I didn't want to drink, causing me to urinate on myself, then butting the end of the bottle in my face, giving me 2 black eyes and a bloody nose.
She just blamed him for being drunk.
Well, yeah, she blamed him for her alcoholism, her drinking problem. So because someone joining just now thinks that like this is her explaining what someone else, this is not a witness. She's going to prison. She's complaining about the guy that she murdered with the guy's family right there. And what is she talking about? How much he deserved to die.
Exactly.
She's listing every reason why he deserved to die. Right?
Like, why would you plead not guilty at that point? Why wouldn't you just say, no, I'm guilty. I killed him. He fucking tortured me my whole life. I mean, look, I hold a little bit of empathy for her because he probably did beat the shit out of her at times.
I believe it. Yeah.
Yeah. And they probably had this tumultuous relationship, but it was centered in alcohol. I mean, it was just like, you take the alcohol out of it and they probably don't love each other anymore. You know what I mean? They probably don't want to be around each other anymore. And which would mean he'd still be alive and she wouldn't have to make up all these narcissistic, somebody said, what is she doing? Just reading a thesaurus? I mean, look, I had a thesaurus and not only was it great, John, it was great. Go ahead.
It worked well for you. It's funny that somebody mentioned a thesaurus. That'll come up later.
For making me experience what it is to threatening to kill my friends and the neighbors when they checked on me to make sure I was alive and in one piece, for threatening to burn down our townhome and set my car on fire because I got a job, for holding me hostage on weekends my son was supposed to come over by keeping my keys around his neck, my phone in his crotch, and a butcher knife stuck in the middle of the table as a warning not to ask anything or try to leave, for stabbing me in the leg and not letting me call 911 for an ambulance or seek help, where I nearly bled to death until I concocted a lie to save him from being arrested, for destroying my phone with a hammer because my son called, for me experiencing ever being arrested and after today, prison, for beating me almost blind, crushing my occipital lobe, for having me experience what it means to see stars like in the cartoons, where a character has a tall lump on their head. I had that too, and many times.
Yeah.
For dragging me downstairs by my hair in the middle of the night just to sit next to him, for taking my car driving drunk with my debit card to buy more alcohol while I slept, even after I kindly explained the importance of my car to take my son to school foremost, me to work, and he to his batterers intervention classes and probation officer meetings, where I would be forced to sit for hours in the parking lot waiting for him. For causing me so much trauma and pain, mentally, physically, emotionally, I had to be hospitalized more than once. For destroying my reputation and integrity, for my M for murderer scarlet letter.
Oh my God.
Literally blaming him for the shame of murder.
Right.
Not letting me feel safe to live.
She is basically saying, for having a face that I beat the shit out of. Like it just like I forgive him for standing there while I just railed on him and without him moving. I forgive him for that. She's insane.
Kristen
And by the way, mind you, if this is, so we just heard from victim impact statements, which means the family, friends of people that love George, that he's no longer here. They know he wasn't a saint. So you got that. This is her opportunity to say, Your Honor, have mercy. I did what I thought I had to do. The guy was an abuser. I didn't do this intentionally. Like, she could have just easily listed like 3, I mean, he did stab me in the leg. And
what she doesn't get is it came down to the original lie, the lie that they were having a good day, that she says all the time, we had our good days, and that we were having fun. She told the cops right away that I think she even said it on 911, we were playing hide and go seek. Because of that lie, because they were playing a game and having a good time, from that, she was never in fear for her life. So she sunk herself with her very first lie, and she continues to not be aware of that. She'll make mention of her good days coming up.
Go ahead.
Oops. I started it over. I need to put that button somewhere else, Drew.
To burn down our townhome and set my car on fire because I got a job. For holding me hostage on weekends, my son was supposed to come over by keeping my keys around his neck, my phone in his crotch, and a butcher knife stuck in the middle of the table as a warning not to ask anything or try to leave. For stabbing me in the leg and not letting me call 911 for an ambulance or seek help, where I nearly bled to death until I concocted a lie to save him from being arrested. For destroying my phone with a hammer because my son called. For me experiencing ever being arrested and after today, prison. For beating me almost blind, crushing my occipital lobe. For having me experience what it means to see stars, like in the cartoons, where a character has a tall lump on their head.
Don't do it again.
I had that too, and many times. For dragging me downstairs by my hair in the middle of the night just to sit next to him. For taking my car driving drunk with my debit card to buy more alcohol while I slept, even after I kindly explained the importance of my car to take my son to school foremost, me to work, and he to his batterer's intervention classes and probation officer meetings, where I would be forced to sit for hours in the parking lot waiting for him. For causing me so much trauma and pain, mentally, physically, emotionally, I had to be hospitalized more than once. For destroying my reputation and integrity, for my M for murderer scarlet letter.
Again, blaming him for her shame.
Not letting me feel safe to live, talk to other people, spend time with my son, have a job, friendships, simply go to the bathroom with the door closed, or go to sleep soundly or comfortably. I forgive George for lying, for him trying in so many ways, so many times, to end me with his terrifying love. I also forgive the Torres family, his mother and father foremost, also his 2 ex-wives and daughters, all for knowing who George was, capable of, and has done in the past, his history of violence and where he learned it, then to keep turning a blind eye when I would ask for help. All of his siblings, including Pharrell Torres, who is now on his way to prison for stabbing the mother of their baby in the side of her head. For everyone who knew what George was doing to me, sometimes how and when, but allowed and enabled. I forgive them for caring too late. I hope they all ask themselves while quiet and comfortable in bed at night the uneasy question, what could I have done to stop this from happening to both of them? And after all the times Sarah tried to, by asking for help, from all of us, and so many times. Another great contributor of my gold is social media, with its greed, insensitivity, deception, obvious exploitation, and advantageous gain from my criminal case as a whole, and for sentencing me by anticipation as a result of ignorance and hate, conjured and fabricated by the organized crime that is social media.
Oh, you're the Don with the organized crime of social media, Drew.
Yes, we are RICO co-conspirators.
Could you believe she called us organized crime because we had the audacity to take the video that she made, the video of her killing her boyfriend, and showing someone and having the audacity to say, this is gross. It's our fault.
It was based in hate.
It was based in hate, and we sentenced her through our own anticipation of her being sentenced. Or
by
something.
Pressing play.
Yeah.
And
which condemned me in the court of global public opinion since the beginning. My family law case is the new prey waiting to be picked apart and pillaged from me being made infamous by social media in my criminal case. It simply seems I cannot forgive and be forgiven and move forward. Social media has made me a pariah. It has caused great oppression and undeniable disadvantages, especially by broadcasting and manipulating my cases online. In my criminal case, as a result, my opportunities to be given a fair, proper, and uninfluenced successful conclusion.
Oh, you got a successful conclusion, Sarah.
Yes.
Very successful.
Very successful.
Was heavily depleted and poisoned. I forgive them. Also, all of the media tycoons for not having a life of their own, trying so desperately to make themselves seem so right by making me appear so wrong. Forgiveness for prejudgment, ridiculous theatrics, lies, making and taking blood money from my and others' misfortunes, accidents, and catastrophes. It's all.
Look at that. She says making blood money from my misfortune, accidents, and catastrophes.
Not George's.
George's murder is your misfortune,
Right.
or
And
your accident, or your
catastrophe.
catastrophe. My God.
Oh
The
my God.
balls on her.
I know.
over their hands and their keyboards. And even after all that's been said and done, theorized, hypothesized, scrutinized, and blasphemed,
Whoa. Only God can be blasphemed. Are you a god, Sarah? Holy shit. She said we blasphemed her, Drew.
She
in my
by the-
case, still no one knows me.
Still no one knows you. You just told us we put you on social media globally and convicted you.
Yeah.
You know, she sounds like, and I'm going to date myself here a little bit. Do you remember when Saturday Night Live in the 90s, maybe? Back in the 1900s, as
That's
Jackson
when I
would say?
last stopped watching. So yeah.
Yeah, when it was funny.
Yeah.
And, well, it wasn't even funny in this period, but Marsha. She sounds exactly like Jan Brady, like
Yeah.
that woman that played Jan Brady. Well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to bring you down with that.
No.
In the end, I forgive myself for
She forgives herself. I guess that answers the question about whether or not she's God.
Yeah.
Only God can forgive you for murder. I mean, yeah, the rest of us can kind of get over it, but the way that she's talking about
Is it
herself being
true-
blasphemed.
Is it true that she has a prison tattoo across her chest that says "Only I can judge me"?
Only I can judge me. You know, I worked in a prison 6 years and never saw that. You know, that's amazing. Only I could judge me. She said that earlier too. She said, I forgive myself. But she said, in spite of everything that everyone's done, only I know me. No one knows the real me.
Right.
As if we haven't seen enough.
Yeah,
But
we
it goes
don't need
on.
to know the real
not
you.
choosing my life sooner, for not being more brave,
Okay, just to clarify here, because we talked on her a little bit. She's forgiving herself for not being stronger sooner, for not being more brave.
vigilant, bolder, and outspoken, stronger, mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, for being hopeless, desperate, simple-minded, weak, and inexperienced. I forgive myself for not realizing I was enduring a life of domestic violence and that the vicious cycle of never ends. I had nothing to compare to. I've never been hit by a man ever before in my life. I was
That right there, when my wife and I were watching this, and I snapped my head, and I said, if she had never been hit before, the first time she was hit, she'd have been out that door. Right? If she, so like, because we as a society are like, oh, we got to have mercy on these domestic violence victims because they fall into the trap and they do this and they do that. But that's after a cycle of abuse, and that's after growing up in an abusive home, more than likely. And there's a ton of sympathy and empathy I have for people like that actually do, fall into the prison of domestic violence, and and that's all they know, and they don't know how to break the cycle, and they just make the excuses. She is not that, and she just admitted it. She just said that she never grew up with it. She never experienced it until she met this guy, and she had every opportunity. You know what she could have done, John?
What's that?
She could have said, okay, hide and seek. Ready? 1, 2, and she could have counted to 10. And when he went off to hide somewhere, she could have walked out the door.
She could have. She could have outwitted him.
Never would have known.
Or she could have like left and then called the police to go unzip him. You know, that would have been fun for a cop.
Well, no, I mean, like, so that's later in the relationship, obviously, when she left him in the suitcase, because she made the argument that, like, you know, this is the Jack in the Box. Like, if I unzip this thing, he's going to get out and kill me. But you're exactly right. Like, okay, if that's the case, just kick the Jack in the Box outside, lock the door, call 911, and say, there's a green suitcase on my stoop. Somebody needs to come in, unzip it, and arrest this guy. But she didn't do that. She just left him in there because she was shit hammered. And that's, she still won't admit that. She still blames him for being drunk.
We covered this on when it was day 4 of her trial, and they showed all the other videos because she liked to videotape him being humiliated. She did that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So it was not an isolated incident. And what we all really uncovered that day on day 4 is that although she has symptoms of intimate partner violence, she may be the perpetrator. Everything I saw of George that day, except when he was destroying the TV, Hila was like a kicked puppy, and she was bringing him to heel all the time in these videos. I'm not saying that she didn't get punched. I'm not saying she didn't get stabbed, but she was, I mean, there was another episode where the cops came in to arrest him, and he's just like, I'm wrong again. And whatever happened, it's my fault. Take me to jail. That was, you know, he, like I said, he was a kicked puppy much of the time. She was the aggressor. And it matters in these cases who the predominant aggressor is. True.
Yeah, it does. And I've dealt with this in my career. I mean, like, you could, first of all, this guy's 100 pounds, literally. I think it is the time of his
103.
Yeah, 103 pounds. But secondly, there are people that accept, or their default is jail. Like, they accept that. Like, you know, I used to use this example all the time. I did a corruption case one time, and the guy, you know, he started getting promotions within the county office, and he was taking in a lot of overtime. So we ended up charging him for stealing the overtime money and stuff. So he got on the phone with his mom on the jail phone calls, and I'm listening to that, and he's saying things like, well, I mean, I moved from the trailer to the house because of the money. I can always just, like, move back to the trailer. And people just default to their low. And what he's saying is, like, I'm fine with being in jail. I'm fine. You know what I mean? Like, they're not striving for anything beyond that. They're like, I had this house and it was fun while it lasted. So I'm going to go back to the trailer now and everything's going to be just fine. That's where I belong, basically. And that's kind of what he was saying when he was talking to that cop. He's just kind of like, yep, you're not going to get an argument on me. I slapped her and let's go. What do we need to do? Like, I think they went up into the bedroom and woke him up even.
Yeah, he knew what was going on. It was and both of them had been arrested multiple times. I mean, it went on and on and on.
Yeah.
And I think that's maybe why she blames the police, because they didn't stop it.
Right.
Raised hitting a woman was wrong and should never happen. No excuse.
Wait, were you raised to believe that murder should never happen? No excuse?
I forgive myself for not escaping permanently, for not fighting back sooner to
That's one of her commandments.
save myself, my son, my dogs, home and car. Having 20/20 hindsight, thinking of everything I could have done differently or better to avoid the outcome. I think about this every day since. Also, of all the good days we had together, for him at least, while I was constantly in hyperdrive, high alert, and paranoid, making sure I did everything right all the time. If not, the great possibility I would be ended as George threatened me with so many times before. I forgive myself for falling in love with a monster, and no matter how grotesque he may become, I still loved him, hoped, and forgave. I tried breaking the spell so he wouldn't be a monster anymore. I saw who he was inside. George made me then, now, and always love him for all of his cracks also. We made each other our own brilliant pieces of art from the cracks and repairs. Unfortunately, not all cracks can be. In all of my forgiveness, George is my greatest lesson and will forever be a part of me. I think of him every day and still speak to him when alone on the rec yard. I ask his forgiveness and that he looks for me at the gates of heaven so I can tell him how sorry I am, endlessly, and that I never stopped loving him. In all of it and still. When I first came to jail, I put my mat under my bed and cried all day and all night for months, only falling asleep from being so exhausted with grief. I wrote him letters. I wrote his family and his daughters, apologizing for asking for their forgiveness. But due to fear that my life or sons would be jeopardized, I did not send.
Just to be clear, she wrote apology letters to the family. She didn't send them out, though, because those apology letters could be used as written confessions from her. So she felt sorry, but not sorry enough to take that accountability and send those letters out, which I admit would be a really big thing. You would have to be a big person to say, you know what, I did this and I'm sorry, writing those letters from jail. But she's saying I'm a big person for writing them, even though I didn't send them.
Right.
And you're not.
I am sorry. I cannot begin to fathom any of their grief and sadness. Please forgive me. Almost everything reminds me of him, seeing my stab wound especially every day especially. It truly reminds me that all I really did live through. George haunts me. He is everywhere. I believe because I do still love him, think of him, and miss his laugh the most. In my heart, I know he is with me and understands that this tragedy was not intentional. I hope everyone can, his family foremost. I didn't mean for this to happen. Please wholeheartedly know that, and always, I would never. Forgive me, George. Forgive me, Torres family. Forgive me, Judge Cranick. To the entire planet, please forgive me.
To everyone on the planet.
I graciously and humbly ask for consideration for forgiveness to be extended instead of judgment, for reconciliation and restoration for all of us to move forward.
If she had started with that, and that was like,
and stop mentioning you're stabbed.
Like, I didn't go to the tip of the iceberg on this one. I'm giving you the edited
you
version.
To go a few more tips.
Like the first 6 pages, I'm going to eliminate. Let me just read you this page 7.
You want to
forgive me?
Just wonder how long the first version was that the judge just didn't allow. She walks in there with 74 pages. Like, guess what? We're locked in, and he's just like, no, you could say 5 of these. Oh my gosh.
My apology is profuse and ceaseless. Allow me, please, to brush off the muck, wipe the blood off of my face, and fix the cuts in my skin. I ask for understanding in what really happened and for how long. For second chances, repentance, and redemption, to advocate for all domestic violence survivors, to help them overcome, heal, and still hope, always, to make their voices heard, to confidently walk with all of their scars on the outside and the inside, to help them not ever become a casualty of domestic violence as so many others, to stop the abuse and maltreatment before it's too late. There is always hope, and you can survive.
Unless you're George Torres.
In my soft-spoken conclusion, I ask this.
In my soft-spoken conclusion, you cannot characterize yourself as soft-spoken whilst speaking.
In my brilliant and soft-spoken.
In my brilliant summation, which is as follows.
I be the darling mother, celebrated woman of the year, if it were I who died. How many daughters, mothers, sisters, aunts, grandmothers, nieces, and friends have been because they did? I am a survivor.
You're a hero, Sarah.
Learn to do good, seek justice, rebuke oppressors, defend the fatherless, plead for the widow. Isaiah 1:17, all-encompassing, protect the abused.
I got to stop this here because she's quoting from Isaiah and she's representing the faith. And I just have to step in here to say that the Bible teaches from front to back that even with forgiveness, there's consequences, right? From Genesis, when we ate the apple, all the way up till Judgment Day, it's all about consequences, Sarah. You found one convenient Bible verse that says that we all need to go out of our way for the oppressed, and that's true, but you're using it to completely mischaracterize who you are. And I'm not going to preach, but the Bible also did say an eye for an eye, Sarah, and we're not even giving you that, so you are getting mercy. Drew, go ahead.
I don't mean to blaspheme here, but I believe the 11th commandment is, thou shalt not zip thine boyfriend in a suitcase.
You're joking, but it's actually do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Okay.
So she didn't want to get zipped up. So yeah, she did break that one, Drew. Good
The
job.
golden rule. The
Yeah.
golden rule from the gold of the vases.
Yes,
Vases.
the gold that makes her even more gold. Even though she said some cracks could not be fixed with gold. Hers can, but George's can't. Is it because he's dead though? I don't know. It's confusing at this point.
Ms. Boone, is that the end of your written statement?
Yes.
Now, gathering your thoughts, did you want to make an oral statement?
I do.
All right, would you do that now?
Yes, please. My statement, my verbal statement is primarily to the Torres family, to the judge, to his daughters. I know you all know who I really am and that I did care for George and that I do still love George. I know you know that we had very many good days. And I take offense to the statement of being said that this is just for a moment. Right now with me here in the courtroom.
Okay, she literally just said I was offended by one of the victim impact statements.
Right.
Because that's what got said. It was one of her sisters or her daughter or whatever says, you know, what's going on right now is not just for a moment, but it's going to last for a lifetime for us. They're saying we're without George forever. And she's saying, I take offense to that too, because this is not just for a moment for me.
In front of you all, this is just for a moment. But the moments before that, in order for me to be here, is endless. It's everlasting. The scars that I have on the inside, my outside scars have healed, except for my stab wound. But
except for my stab wound, which I don't know if I mentioned this, but George stabbed me. I don't know if I mentioned that. Do you think her lawyer told her? It's like, just mentioned you were stabbed as many times as you possibly can, Sarah. There's no over on that one. Just keep going.
If I were the judge, I would sentence her stab wound separately.
You know, honestly, I'm surprised he's not just like, wrap it up.
This has changed me as a person to see things differently and to understand things differently and to not be weak and just try to protect yourself and forever, regardless of the time that I may receive from today. I forever will have this experience. I forever will have George Torres with me in my heart, in my mind.
Did she say I may receive the time I may
she said
receive today?
Well, you don't want to accept the idea that you're going to prison. She's like,
yeah,
whatever prison time I may receive, because I may receive 0.
Because I'm sure she has in her head that she's like, there's no way the judge is going to sentence me for this.
No,
I've
she
already
still
done
thinks
4
that
years.
the judge is going to finally see. Because remember when she said early on when she was pro se, or earlier when she was pro se, she says, I want the jury to see me for me, the truly exceptional person I am. When earlier on the videotape, when she was bullying George into saying, tell everyone how great I am, that I'm the best, most perfect person ever. She has to have people see her this way. And now she's been given her bully pulpit to go up there, and she thinks she's going to impress the judge who has been very, 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 very sick of her. Do you remember that when her attorney says, like, I want grounds for a mistrial? He goes, denied. And then I'll tell you a second reason. Just denying it was the first reason unto itself. Sarah, you cannot tell this judge, who has been very fair, but he's very sick of it. And I think he's very disgusted by you. But anyway, does she not realize that the family does not want to hear how much she loves George? That's what she keeps saying. You'll never know how much I loved him. Right. To his family.
Well, it's another form of suffering. Like I'm the one living without him.
I'm missing George, even though I zipped him up in a suitcase and didn't let him out, and he died. I'm suffering because I get to go to prison and I only get to visit him by his ghost in the rec yard.
She is standing on a suitcase of lies.
Yeah.
And my body and my soul, as he and I used to say that we were one soul split into 2 bodies. This is not just for a moment. It may be for everyone in this courtroom, but when I leave, this is forever. When you all leave, that this is forever. This is forever for everyone here, and
it's forever for you, Sarah.
those who it matters to most. I am one of those who will experience this forever. I'm sorry.
Forever, ever?
Words do not define my shame, and I don't know what else it is that I can say and convey to the Torres family how this happened. The ifs and whys and how really don't matter. It happened, and I'm sorry. Words cannot describe. And I hope that everyone can forgive me, the Torres family most of all, and his daughters, because I know what he meant to them. And I don't think that anybody ever understood what he meant to me and I to him. For beating me almost blind, for causing me so much trauma and pain, being all of the bruises from George beating me, lied, terrorized, threatened, humiliated, forced, degraded, made me cry. Forever will have George Torres with me in my heart, and I ask for forgiveness.
That was a very clever edit.
Thank you.
Ms. Boone, I have just one or two questions, if you don't mind.
Oh, Lord.
Miss Boone, I have one or two questions. First, are you out of your fucking mind?
Yeah. My first question would be, am I getting paid? Did you figure that out?
Right. How are you going to pay?
Speak on it if you want or not. But this is a unique case, and one of the reasons it's so unique is that you were in jail for 4.5 years prior to your trial. And I understand that when you were brought up as a child that you did have some spirituality in your family, some church, some religion.
Always.
But I understand that you got away from that. Did you have a chance during the 4.5 years to look back at your spirituality?
Absolutely. You know, everyone supposes that this is one of the worst experiences of my life, and it's actually been one of my greatest. If I were not beaten to death, I was going to work myself to death on the outside, and I never had time to get back into my Bible and to pray and to be with the Lord. And I, being here incarcerated, have had time, of course, to get closer to God, to reacquaint myself to Him and realize what it's all about. It's
What better signal to the judge? Like, this is where I need to be.
Yeah,
I
no
need to
kidding.
be with God.
Good, right here. Actually, Drew, if you don't
In
mind, just a
jail.
quick interjection. So everybody that came to testify on her behalf as a character witness,
They knew her from the jail.
every single one of them, a cellmate, a chaplain, and then there was like some random other guy that became her pen pal in Minnesota that was talking about how great she was.
That's a woman.
Oh, sorry.
That's a woman. The one that was having audio and video difficulties. I mean, you know, I felt bad for her because she was humble and she's being very vulnerable and she's putting herself out there. But she was like, no, you just don't know Sarah like I know Sarah. I mean, I have literally known her for, I'd say, a month, good solid 6 weeks. I mean, you don't know.
The thing is, they only all know prison Sarah Boone. Do you know who didn't show up?
George.
Her child. Her child didn't show up.
Her ex-husband, her child,
her ex-husband, her
parents.
child didn't show up and say, Judge Kranick, please let me have my mommy back. He's
yeah,
not
I
there.
mean, so one of the people was a chaplain that, you know, from the jail, you know, and she gave a good statement, but I mean, like, you don't have an outside, I don't know how to, I got to tread lightly on this.
Well, you got to tread lightly, but I'll tell you, I mean, I dealt with prison chaplains. I mean, they want to see the best in people, I guess, is the best way you can put that.
Yeah, one. And two, like, if you were that holy, and basically, but by the way, the chaplain's testimony was basically like, look, all the young ladies looked up to her. She kind of guided them and mentored them. And she was, yeah, I don't doubt that. I mean, she's got nothing else to do, but she stuffed a dude in a suitcase and left him in there overnight and he died. And she won't take responsibility for it because that's really all she had to do.
Right.
All she had to do was say, I was so drunk,
But-
I don't
but
remember. And I fall on the sword of your
But she couldn't even get through that part. She had the thesaurus out and the big document for how great she is and how it's everyone's fault. But then when she says her personal statement of I'm sorry, she's just like, there really aren't any words. So like, words cannot describe I'm sorry. That's when the thesaurus should have come in, Sarah, for you to say like, there aren't any words, but I'm going to try to explain the damage that I've done and hear what I'm going to take accountability for, because that's what the plea was. You take accountability of the plea. You say, I killed him. It was wrong. Let me out in 8 years. She could not do that, and she cannot do that now. She does not realize that that is the only reason she is up there. It's not because anyone gives a flying fuck about how great she is or her gold or not even anything that George Torres did. I mean, you could make the case that there are mitigating circumstances in a DV case, fine. But you're here to say you're sorry. This is no longer even about you, or it's not about George. It's about you specifically and whether or not you're sorry. But she made it all about George, and she made it all about the family and the media and the corrupt, the scoundrel detectives like Drew. But she just keeps pushing this line here, and she cannot understand what's being prompted of her. It's actually sad to see that there's no hamster on her wheel right now.
This is all temporary. And when I say temporary, I don't mean by being set free in jail or from prison or wherever else. It means being set free and temporary, meaning that you work for something higher, you work for God, that you strive for your crown to be placed upon your head by Jesus Christ by being said, you have done well, my good and faithful servant. I've always tried to be a good and faithful servant. I was just a servant as opposed to doing all that I can when my family were alive and I was going through everything up to this point.
Hold on. Sarah almost blamed the service and meekness of a Christian attitude as being part of her problem. She said, when I was going through all my family stuff, I was just a servant and I was just meek like a good Christian, but I should have fought back and I should have been more assertive. So she's being asked whether or not she has any spirituality, if she's grown spiritually as a person, if she's gained any insight, things that might matter here. And the only thing she could say is that earlier in my life when I was meek, and when I was having a service attitude while I was, when I was being abused, that was the problem. So she actually just came very close here to accidentally blaming a Christian attitude for the prolonging of her abuse.
I've become so much more closer to the Lord, and it's made me such a better person. And I hope that I am an example going forward of the Lord's light, and can draw many people to me because of it.
Any follow-up, State?
No, I assumed that was the final word.
The State
I
says,
had a lot to say.
hold on, no, let's not hear it again. We can't go through that again. So the State says, I'd assume that'd be the final word. So he gets up and questions her a little bit, asks her some more things, and there's a few more questions to be asked, and she answers it. And then it's the State's turn, to almost cross-examine her. And the State's just like, no, I want that to be the final word. The State's just like, she's done enough. I don't have to do, as I have been on vacation these past 4 years. I have not had to do anything to make this case, but let's get it over with. I do have other cases pending on the docket. And now, guys,
the State is saying literally, like, there is nothing I can say to vilify her any more than she has already done. Like, the only thing left was like, Sarah, we did find these stack of letters that you wrote to Jesus. So it is proof that you have turned it. And she's like, no, that's a guy. That's a guy named Jesus. He lives in Sanford. That's
not surprising. Jesus. She'd call him Jesus, though, after Jorge was called George. I get the confusion. Why don't we bring on Cupcakes and Cameos, because she has waited for a Comm Center record 34 minutes.
Oh, bless her.
Cupcakes did not take her own child to Taekwondo tonight to be here.
Oh.
So a child has suffered plus 34 minutes. Cupcakes, I just do you want me to replay the video? Because I could do that for you if you want to get back to your talking points, but you have the floor, ma'am.
Oh no, the sad thing is like I made notes and I still don't even know where to start.
Well, she gets up there and she blames the Torres family. She blames George for what he did. She even blamed Orange County Corrections. That one blew me away. Like, really?
Right. They were in on it too.
Not not only does the woman think she's God, she must think she's Confucius too, because like the first thing she starts off with is that whatever that, broken pottery fixed with gold, like who even cares?
I don't know,
Like,
but when
where
she
did you
started
even-
that way, I face palmed. I'm like, oh my God, this is what we're going with.
It's like, I think when, for that short amount of time that she was pro se and they were like giving her internet access for like, certain hours of the day, I'm pretty sure she was just looking up stuff like that. I don't think she was actually even looking at anything with her case. She was just
I
looking at
believe
stuff.
you.
What can I throw in a statement?
Her legal research was at one point she had copied and pasted the Bill of Rights, which is what is what people in college who are pre-law learn their first day. They have to like memorize that the first day. And she's sending that to the judge like, this is my rationale, the Congress shall make no law. And like, that's supposed to impress a judge. Go ahead.
So, I mean, that letter to the judge was what, like 58 pages long? I imagine the one she was going to read was probably 77 pages long.
It was insane.
Yeah.
And I bet she was edited today. I bet she was told that she could not have the court's time to go on all day.
Oh, I'll bet her attorney got a hold of that. Her attorney got a hold of that thing. It was like, you cannot say that. Like that was the tame version. I guarantee it.
Yeah. And, which I know y'all didn't really go over as much, like the victim statements and like the statements for her or whatever. But the woman saying that Sarah offered to give her a kidney. Okay, first of all, who would want Sarah's kidney?
Yeah, her organs are pretty well used.
Yeah, who would want that disease shriveled up kidney? Like, you would be better off just not having a kidney.
My wife, as my wife pointed out, hell yeah, she's going to give up a kidney. She doesn't need it. She's going to prison for the rest of her life. She doesn't need it.
Exactly.
Do you remember, Drew, when she got arrested and she promised the detectives never to drink again?
She's making a deal with God. If you get me out of this, I'll never drink again.
I did say at the end of her, when my wife and I were watching it, I said, and I want to thank the Comm Center because they got it right.
I wonder if part of me does wonder, like a lot of people covered this, and I watched some other people's material on it and it was good, but I wonder if somehow we did come up. I just want to believe that Sarah Boone has seen me just incredulous at her. I would hope so.
The podcast at a minimum. We have a separate podcast, a separate Sarah Boone podcast. So
we do, and I have to plug that, of course. You can go listen to Death by Suitcase, a whole series on that, which this was before Sarah Boone's face became more famous, and we were trying to sell it with female appeal. So sorry, it doesn't have an actual picture of Sarah Boone on it.
Like the other, one of the other things that kills me, and God, there's many, but the fact that, she tries to get into all of this religious talk and stuff like that. And then she goes on to say how what happened to her is one of the greatest experiences of her life because it like brought her closer to God.
She didn't have time before.
You are literally, it's like she is literally reducing George to like a catalyst in her hero's like redemption arc. Like that's how she sees him. Like, I'm just like, I don't even know. I don't even know what to say about that other than like literally she thinks she is a superhero in a novel and he is the thing that brought her back to life and gave her power back or something.
She referred to this at one point as her adventure. When she was pro se, she was talking about how she needed people to see her on this adventure. I'm like, you mean misadventure, right? Like but she still thought it was her going to be her final ascent, that she had to go through this final test, this final crucible, and that she was going to come out, as a nice piece of pottery, and that everyone was going to see how perfect she was. And I've never seen anyone with a total lack of insight. Like when you watch The Office and you see Michael Scott, like this is a whole other level though, because she can't understand just how she comes off to people at all.
And I said this in the chat too. If I hear about those disabled dogs one more time, I'm like, she thinks it's going to get her sainthood from the Pope that she, adopted to a blind dog and a deaf dog. I'm like, I adopted a 3-legged cat at one time. I'm still waiting on my sainthood.
Yeah,
that was 16 years ago.
Well, the amazing thing is that she treated these animals so well, and she has such a heart of compassion for these animals. But a human being,
Oh, yeah.
she will leave zipped up in a suitcase, which is the most grotesque and terrible way to kill someone that you proclaim to love. She wouldn't treat an animal that way. She wouldn't lock up her dog or her cat in the suitcase. She locked up George, though.
Yeah.
John.
Oh my God. And his sister getting up there and saying that, like, when she goes on a trip or anything, she can't bring herself to zip her suitcase up all the way. Like, I legitimately started crying. Like, I don't normally cry over stuff like that, but I was legitimately, like, tearing up and sniffling. Like, you know, it's stuff like that. Like, we as people that are interested in stuff like that and stuff like this, you don't really always stop to think about small things like that that could affect, you know, the victims' families or just the victims themselves as their survivors. Like something that little as not being able to zip up a suitcase because you think of your dad dying in a suitcase. Like
the daily reminder, she's going to deal with that all the time.
That would feel terrible.
And not to be glib about it, but can you imagine her at an airport? I mean, that's got to be terrible, you know? On the carousels and everything.
Everywhere. There's no way. Like, she probably can't go to the airport anymore. I imagine she probably drives everywhere she can.
Yeah.
Like,
Drew, go ahead.
John, are we the metaphorical pets of Sarah Boone? Like, one's got good ears and bad eyes, and the other's got bad eyes and good ears.
I was blessed with perfect vision, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think
all I know is that I did profit personally from her pain out of the story of her by mischaracterizing her adventure as a murder trial. You know, I was way off base. Anything else, Cupcakes? Any other any last bullets to fire into this case before we finally put it out?
The fact that she says that she remembers him, especially when she looks at her stab wound, like the utter audacity.
Yeah,
like
I'll always remember him, especially when I see what he did to me. Do you see how even remembering him is through the context of herself?
Yeah. And then, you know, she talks about how, like, she wants to be, you know, an advocate for domestic violence survivors. George was a domestic violence victim too. He just didn't survive, and you did.
Well, she's only an advocate for survivors. She's not an advocate for people who died.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And of course, she always has to throw in there, even then, that it wasn't intentional. Like, it's going to make anything better.
That's something I would have said as the state. So it's important for you to advocate for victims of domestic violence, survivors of domestic violence. Always is what she would say. Like, do you think it's important to advocate for people who've died of domestic violence? Never. You know, that's probably what she would say.
Oh, I can't stand the way she says forever. Oh my God.
Oh,
it makes me want to stab my ears with a fork.
And at one point she said she described herself as gracious. She meant to say gratefully, like she was saying thankful, like she was thankful for something, but she said gracious as though she's the one who is full of grace for others. But I just thought, I don't think that was a slip of the tongue. I think she sees herself.
Humble.
Yeah, she's humble and she's meek. Yeah, can you believe it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm flabbergasted by the fact that all three of the psychiatrists and psychologists that they had on this case, none of them actually diagnosed her as a narcissist. They said she had narcissistic tendencies. And
well, it's because none of them wanted to spend the time with her. You have to spend time with her to get that diagnosis, and no one wants to be in a room with her too long when they don't have to be, because she's just going to jail. She's going to prison either way. What does it matter if she's a full-blown narcissist, right? If anything, the diagnosis would have let her off, though, because every time you get a diagnosis or a label for something, it's some degree of diminishment, right? Well, Sarah can't understand the feelings of other people because she's a narcissist. By holding off from that diagnosis, we're like, no, she has tendencies, but she's still capable of empathy and understanding that she hurt George. So I'm glad she didn't get the diagnosis.
And then the chaplain talking about how, like, she's shown personal growth and blah, blah, blah. Well, none of us see it. Like, none of us see it. And she's talking about how she, helps, like, guide and mother the other inmates and stuff and blah, blah, blah. Well, she probably can't be as big a bitch in jail as she was in real life because she's not big enough to back it up.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, she's probably going to try to make people like her because she's not going to be able to, do her coupon or Karen type activities like she's used to doing on the outside. She's going to have to try to make people like her.
I don't think it'll be as easy for her in prison either, because people in jail, they tend to be in a moment of acute crisis, right? They were just arrested. They're looking for a short amount of time. Once you're in prison, you're post adjudicated. You're usually pretty well settled into what's going on with you. You're usually doing years. And I think that, looking out for support from some other woman there is not necessarily going to be as easy for her in prison. I think she's going to find hard people when she gets into prison, and I don't think it's going to work out for her.
Oh, she's going to have to find a big girlfriend for sure.
Oh my gosh, you took it there. Anything else? She's going to be with Large Marge.
I will have to say, that one point in her whatever testimony, essentially, that she made where she's like, and still no one knows me. We don't want to.
I know we've had enough.
We don't want to know you.
We've had enough, but even still, she says, and still no one knows me. That was at about halftime in her little show. That was the intermission.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, the thing I said about like coupon or Karen, can you imagine being behind her in that public? She probably had a coupon she was trying to use on her, bottle of wine that her and George were getting, and it didn't work. I just can't. I can't with that woman.
Yeah. You know what's amazing is there was an outburst during when they were showing the video of George calling for help. How could there not have been an outburst during that? I know a member of the family did leave during her testimony on the stand. Her
I think it was his mother, but I'm not 100% sure.
She was back in for the sentencing because she was seen crying, obviously with gratitude that Sarah was going away. But
I watch a different channel. The guy's called The Lawyer, and he actually went and he was actually like out in the audience, which he lives in Florida too, Drew. And he was actually out in the audience at the sentencing. Yeah. He was in the audience at the sentencing, and he said that some of the family members actually got up and walked out while she was giving her statement. And I'm like, I don't know how they didn't all get up and walk out. But he also said that he was actually sitting directly behind two jurors, but he didn't know it until after the fact that they were jurors or whatever. So at least two of the jurors came to watch her spew all of the craziness that she decided to spew. I don't know.
She was a sideshow for sure, and we've treated her that way. I mean, when I prepared this, obviously I was completely irreverent. This is a woman who's actually going to prison for the rest of her life, and she's a murderer. And to me, she's a joke. And I think that is really the best way to treat her. Not as a serious person at all. Like, she has endured some bad stuff, but so have we all. And she denied George the same process that she got to exploit. She enjoyed it for 4 years and dragging it out. George got a couple hours in a suitcase and he was gone. So she's a joke to me. She's going away forever. This is our last episode about Sarah Boone. And if she ever hears these words, Sarah, you are a joke to me. And I think you're an incredibly bad person. And my only sorrow about you is that you will never realize, no matter how many people dish on you and dog on you, you are incapable of realizing that you're the monster.
Oh, she is 100%.
All right, Cupcakes. Anything else?
Not until she's compass.
No, I think that's it.
Thank you for neglecting the child for us. We're very pro child neglect here, so thank you so much.
The husband has him. We're good.
Okay, I'm glad you were clear on the record. The kid's being taken care of.
Yeah, good luck on the
thanks for
Kumite.
dropping in. You have a good night. Okay, thanks for being patient with us.
You too.
All right.
Cheers. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Folks, if you want more from the Comm Center, you can listen to us. Make sure you're hitting us up on Spotify. Make sure you're hitting us up on iTunes. Look for great stuff here on YouTube channel, and now on X and various other platforms. Look for us on Instagram. Drew and I are going to be expanding our media presence. We're going to be taking over Instagram one account at a time until most accounts on Instagram are us. That is our goal. So Drew, unless you have anything else, we're going to put you to bed so you can wake up in the morning to mow your lawn.
Yeah, I'm just going to sleep here.
All right,
But
guys.
I one last question while we're headed out. Do you think, and let me know in the comments, does Sarah Boone forgive Salvatore Aldrade?
Very good question. All right, guys, I'm going to go out and eat some eggs in the car. Remember to carry the fire. We'll see you back here next week.